So today's talk will be about this commonly held notion that people don't change. I don't know why I had so many quotation marks and that's a lot of quotes, but yeah, people don't change. And this is something I grew up hearing. It's I think become very common nomenclature, and uh, there are benefits. There are reasons why it's helpful. In terms of not getting hurt, not falling into the same traps again. Right? So using it as a precautionary measure, which makes total sense. And it's not true. And so again, helpful and harmful go hand in hand together with almost everything. Everything has a point to which way it goes. So there's benefits to say, okay, I don't want to get harmed. This person has harmed me. Again, they're not going to change. They're going to do the same thing. Super. But for the most part, it's actually not really true. And what we end up doing is reinforcing this idea that people don't change. Yet somehow we seem to think we always change, right? And so there's this funny thing we do as humans where it's like, well, we're not human, we're ourselves, and everyone else follows this pattern, but we don't. So we can see that we change over time, but yet people looking at us don't necessarily see that. Well, we're like, oh, I've changed so much. And a lot of times people will say, oh, what are you talking about? Or vice versa, where like we don't feel like we've changed at all. And people come up to us and like, wow, you've changed so much. And we're like, what? Right? So there's this contradictory thing that we end up having where it's like, oh, we can change, but we can't change. And Hegel talks a lot about the contradiction as a way of progress, and I don't want to get too philosophical and drop names like that. But if you want, go look it up. Hegel's an interesting uh, way of leading into a lot of the modern day metaphysics. I think he's an important character. So we have this thing about like people can't change, but right now, as you're watching this, you are changing. And I can get all abstract and say, oh, your cells are changing. You're bringing in oxygen and changing. And there's that. But for me, I'm more concerned with mental constructs and how are we framing the world. And if we don't change, we always see the world as the same way. But yet we don't. We're constantly, if we allow it, we can constantly be adapting. We can constantly be changing and changing. And change is where growth comes from, right? We don't change from being still. And so for me, the main sort of takeaway is to start to change the narrative that people can change. They may not, but they can. And changing it from an absolute if people don't change, which doesn't allow people to change and also doesn't allow us to see that they've changed because we've already stated an output of they do not change. That's how I see the world. And starting to shift it to that people can change and they may not, which is more of a mouthful, but it's also, I think, more aligned with how we have seen the world, how you've seen the world, where some people have changed and some people haven't. And there's even another aspect is that if somebody changes, but I don't see it, have they changed for me, right? For me, they haven't changed, yet everything has entirely shifted. And a lot of times I may not allow myself to see them change because I've already constructed the reality in my reality that they can't change, which a lot of times has deeper contexts of control and or how we want the world to be, which will make this short 4-minute video into a longer 20-minute video. So for the most part, I just sort of play curiosity with when we say people can't change, when we think that people can't change, wondering, is that the case? Can they change? Could they change? Could I be mistaken here? And am I a person and have I changed? And play around with that and see what that does for how we interact with people and the world around us. All right, I hope it's some good food for thought. I'll see you next time. Peace. Be well.